New Radio Sports Network and 104.1 WRLU. Welcome back to another edition of the show with head coach Pat Mikesch. And a lot of stuff has happened. Some new faces on the team, but we'll go right to your games last week against Team USA. Kind of a feast or famine type of moment. The under 18 teams had their way with your squad. You were able to grind out a victory on Saturday against the U17s. But let's talk about the U18s because we talked about them last week. They're obviously peaking towards that international tournament player. But I mean, I know you had the BioSteel All-American game earlier this year, which was kind of a all-star game of some sorts, but you're pretty much facing an all-star team when you're facing the U18s.
Yeah, I think it's 17 of their 22 players are projected to go in the first 3 rounds of the NHL draft this year. And they are a special group. And like we've talked about, this is what they kind of build up towards. This is when they're building to make their April run for the World Championships. And their last 3 games, or 2 games previous to us, they had scored 9 and 9 in both of those games. Beating a Dubuque team 9-0, which I think is a great hockey team in Dubuque. So we knew we were going to be in a battle, having the trades happen the day before and, being a little shorthanded because our new players hadn't arrived yet, put us down to leaving a little bit more. But let's be honest, they're a great hockey team. Cooley is going to be one of the first 2 picks in the draft this coming year. And Chesley, I believe, is one of the best defensemen out there. So it is a tough matchup. And we get to play them 3 more times still before they go to the World Championship. So, hopefully we can do some things to make those games a lot tighter.
What is your conversation like with your team? You mentioned those trades. You were down a couple players. You're obviously facing a surging team with, as you mentioned, the 17 of the 22 could be off the board in the NHL draft, not just, going on to play minor league hockey, but NHL draft. What is that conversation like heading into that game? Not necessarily seeing the writing on the wall, but saying, hey, you know what, that's going to be a steep climb that we're going to have here tonight.
Well, we had beat them earlier in the year by getting off to a great start. And so we try to focus on that. And maybe my messaging was incorrect because we got off to a poor start and then our guys really got stuck in the mud. And it was like, well, how do we come back and beat this group now? But I credit our guys, after the first period, the second and third period, we tied that group and played very well against them. Everything that went against us was in that first period. And our guys were very resilient and fought through that second and third period and made it a good game, a good test for that group for those last 2 periods.
And that's got to be something reassuring for you because I believe Team USA scored 8 goals in that first period. And that's easy to kind of almost start hopping on the bus at that point. But it sounds like good thing for your team to be able to show that resilience, to hop back onto the ice. And as you mentioned, played good hockey those final 2 periods.
Yeah, it was. Guys battled very hard, and Rastislav Elias came into the net and played very well for those last 2 periods. So it was a good sign for our group to see them respond and want to compete for those last 2 periods, and then knowing that they had to come out and play again the next night.
And you faced the U17 team. You grinded out that victory. I believe it was a 3-2 score. And how much after a game like the night before, where you lose, you give up that kind of output in the first period, they have a game like that, no matter how close it may have been. But the fact of the matter is that you come out with the victory in 2 points.
Yeah, it was important to turn the page. I thought our leadership did a great job at the locker room on just refocusing right after that game and feeling good about themselves that they did fight through the rest of that first night. But we knew we were going to play that young team that's been playing well. They were coming off 2 straight wins against Chicago the week before, so knew it was going to be a good test. They're playing better as a younger group now, and they hadn't played the night before, so they were a little bit fresher than we were, and they came at us pretty aggressively and forechecked us hard, and our guys kind of stayed with the process that way. And that young team is playing really good defense right now. They've kind of learned to play as a team that way. So there wasn't a lot of offense for us. And then we kind of fought our way to that 2-1 lead, and they got the late tying goal. And then we got the game in a shootout, which was, fun to do on the road.
And as not just a hockey coach, but as a hockey fan, how, I guess, you've faced the U17s before. how exciting is it, I guess, for you, this kind of see that growth, not just in your own team, but also in a team like Team USA?
Well, we talk about it a lot as a staff, and they start out with a fresh group, and they're going to coach them for 2 years. Where we're always having moving parts and everything that way, and you could see how they can start to create an identity for themselves, but it takes a long time. They don't have those veterans to kind of start out their beginning of a season, so they really have to evolve as a group throughout the entire 8 months, and you could really start to see that younger group is coming together. We won't see them anymore this year, but they're going to be a test for everybody, obviously, next year when they come back as that group of 18s.
Obviously, you can kind of compare from one year to the next, which U17 squad was better, this year's U17 or this year's U18s that would have been the 17s last year?
Yeah, they're a little bit of a different makeup. The last year's group, which is the 18s now, was kind of a bigger group, and we were able to take advantage of them kind of with our skill, but now they've come along, and now they're not just a bigger group, they're a really big group and extremely skilled. And so that's where they've evolved that way. This group probably has had a better year. The younger group this year has had a better year of winning games in the USHL, just based on the fact that they're really skilled, really fast, and they can score goals on a nightly basis. And now you're seeing them learn how to defend and be harder to play against as well.
Now you're facing a Chicago team this weekend. You'll have Chicago at home on Friday. We'll have that game for you on 104.1 WRLU before you go down to Geneva, Illinois to face them again. The team that you've seen a few times this year, and at least at the time they're still kind of near the top of the division, and you've actually given them some really tough games this year.
Yeah, we've matched up well with them this year. I think, our team comes prepared to play against those top teams, and it's going to be another good test. I'm excited to have them back in our building and, where we have had that success against them, and understanding that you can't let them have anything easy. Adam Fantilli's a very special player. Jackson Blake, we got to make sure we defend hard on those guys. And they always give us our offensive opportunities. And so that's going to be the important part, is making sure we're ready to take advantage when we get them.
And is that something when you see those opportunities, as you mentioned, that you're going to get them? Are there things that you've seen on tape in those past matchups where you go, okay, when they do this, that's when we have to strike?
Well, it's defending well, because, they're going to come and they like to bring their defense just like we do in our offense. And there's going to be some 4-on-2 line rushes. And if we're able to shut them down and get that puck north, we're going to get our offensive chance going right back at them. So the game can turn into a track meet a little bit when you're playing them, and it's going to go back and forth. So, but you're going to get opportunities, and you just got to be ready to take advantage.
Do you like that track meet style? I know we've had a couple of weekends recently where it's been more of the grudge match. Do you like the track meet games a little bit more?
Well, I think with our skating or our decor, that's a little bit more of our makeup. We talked a lot about you got to be able to play with Chicago to play in this division. And I thought, our makeup is made to get up and down the ice with a team like that and a team like Muskegon. And, I think by adding, like a John Driscoll has really helped us on the back end with a bigger body to play against some of those teams that are a little bit more physical than a Chicago or a Muskegon.
Well, once again, we'll have Green Bay Gamblers hockey for you Friday night, where the Gamblers will host Chicago at the Resch Center. 104.1 WRLU and NewRadioSportsNetwork.com is where you will be able to catch that game. And then on Saturday, they will head down to the Chicago area to play the Steel. And Coach, as always, we appreciate the time and good luck this weekend.
Thanks, Tim. Look forward to talking next week.
All right. You've been listening to the New Radio Sports Network.